Hello and welcome to the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. I'm your host, Jeff Harvie, registered migration agent with Down Under Visa, the premier Australian migration agent in Manila, Philippines, specialising in visas for Australian Filipina couples. We hope you enjoy this podcast and hope it proves useful to you. Please feel free to share this with your partner and with any of your interested friends. Let's get started. Okay, today's podcast is based on the blog article How to Cancel a Partner Visa Application to Australia. Now, relationships fail. It happens all the time. Now, whether this is your relationship in Australia with your Aussie ex-wife or the lovely lady you met in the Philippines and you believed you would be with forever. Yes, the truth is that some Australian Filipino relationships, marriages and de facto relationships, they do end up breaking up. Now, you will have seen on the article and on the podcast there's a fairly groovy cartoon there and it uses the Tagalog word sayang. Now what that means is, it means what a waste. It's something which people will use if they think, that didn't go right, put all the effort into this, they'll say sayang. And you'll probably hear your wife say that. And it's such a shame to let go of something that you worked so hard for and you had so much hope around. It really is, of course it is. All that time and effort and maybe the expense of a partner visa application if you got that far. You end the relationship and two people have nothing. Sayang. So how do I cancel a partner visa application? Now, straight to the point, because there are some legal responsibilities here, and basically this. If your relationship breaks down, you, the sponsor, must inform the department and you must withdraw the sponsorship. This is the law. It is not optional. I'll say that again. If your relationship breaks down, you, the sponsor, must inform the department and you must withdraw your sponsorship. That is the law. It's not optional. Now, you may or may not remember if you got this far of lodging a partner visa application, that on the partner visa sponsorship form, you have to agree to the question that you will agree to inform the department in writing if the support for the fiancé or partner is withdrawn before the application is finalised. And what that means is that you have no choice at all to not report the breakup as soon as you've broken up for good and it's damaged beyond repair. As soon as you know that, that's the point. Now, the decision to cancel the partner visa application itself is actually not yours to make. All you can do is withdraw the sponsorship. I've had sponsors say to me, look, even though we broke up, I don't want her thrown out of Australia. I still care about her. Not that uncommon. Men tend to be probably the least vengeful when these things happen. Sometimes it's hard to let go of that affection and sense of responsibility, and you still want to be a gentleman, etc. Well, look, you can't do that. It's not your decision to make. Whether she leaves or remains in Australia, it's not up to you. Now, she was allowed by the department, not by you, to enter Australia because she was in a relationship with an Australian and she remained based on that situation remaining. Now, once that situation changes, the department needed to be told. So, how do you do it? Well, look, you get on the phone and call that wonderful number, which is 131 881, and you tell them. Then they will tell you what to do. They'll probably shoot something out for you to fill out and sign, send back, etc. But basically, you will be putting it into writing that you withdraw your sponsorship. That's all. You make no decisions as to what they will do because it's out of your hands. Look, I had somebody contact me the other day. I'd already told him this. I said, this is what you do. Leave it up to them. And look, I'm not being unsympathetic here. I hope he doesn't hear this and get upset because, again, I sympathise. Got onto me and said, look, I've got evidence of her making false statements, etc., etc. What can I do? Well, there's absolutely nothing you can do. At that particular point, it's not, even if you're feeling very, very annoyed, which, I mean, that's normal. You're going to be, pretty cranky about the whole thing, and if you figured out that she hadn't been straight with you, well, look, of course you're going to be pretty cranky about the whole thing. But again, it's not about you being vindicated. You just have a responsibility to withdraw your sponsorship, and that's it. So what happens after a partner visa is cancelled? Well, here's the next thing you agreed to. To acknowledge and accept that if their relationship with the fiancé or partner breaks down, including where the sponsor has withdrawn the sponsorship, Australian privacy laws prevent the sponsor from receiving further advice or being given information in relation to their former fiancé or partner's visa application. So if you're wanting to know, okay, what happens next? When do they chuck her out, etc.? What's happening? Is she gone yet, etc.? By law, Australian privacy laws, they can't tell you anyway. Okay, so that's it. Once you've withdrawn, then you just have to get on with the rest of your life. So yes, once you've withdrawn your sponsorship, the department will take over and they will no longer discuss the matter with you unless they want to know something. Don't call them, they'll call you. Now, if they have suspicions that she put in some dodgy information or something and they want to confirm that with you, they will do so. But otherwise, you need to keep right out of it. So generally, look, unless there were issues like a child of the relationship, or they can prove that there was domestic violence, which is now known as family violence, you could expect that she will have her partner visa cancelled and she will need to leave. But again, that is in their hands. Now look, on the family violence side of things, they do need to prove this. They can't just make empty allegations. Now, if you go to the blog article itself, click on a link there, and there's another article, if that is an issue for you. So please read that, if that matters, if you think that's going to be an issue. However, if you suspect she's a sneaky person with bad intentions, logically stay away from her and don't ever be alone with her. So that's all the official side of things. Next question. Should you end your Australian Filipino relationship? How about that for a question? Tough question, and this is what I really want to say a few things about. I have clients contacting me probably every month, I would say, and goes along this lines. The relationship has ended and I want to cancel the partner visa, or the partner visa application, or stop preparing the partner visa application. It all depends on what stage they are up to, but basically they want to pull the pin on the whole thing. And if they want to know what to do next, yes, of course, I tell them what I said above about how to cancel it, what they have to do, withdraw their sponsorship, etc. However, I tell them one more thing always. I say, please wait 1 to 2 weeks, then let me know if you're still wanting to end things. Now, guess what happens in what I would say a bit over 50% of occasions? Yes, they manage to sort it out and continue. And there are countless relationships of our clients that are still together today in Australia, and I would think a few babies born who would never have seen daylight if I had not asked their parents to wait and to reconsider. Now, what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that relationships that take time and effort to develop to the stage of applying for visas, they shouldn't be tossed away quickly. Now, are all Australian Filipino relationships worth saving? Now, I look back at some failures I've had myself, and I don't regret ending them at all. I had 2 fairly significant ones. This is Australian Filipino relationships. Both of them lasted about a year each. And look, both relationships had me visiting in the Philippines 3 times, 3 overseas trips each, so 6 trips. Letters, emails, phone calls, etc. A lot of time invested, not to mention money. I did work it out once, how much one of them cost me. I won't go into that. And yes, if I had waited 2 weeks before ending these relationships, if somebody had told me that, I still would have ended them. I'm one of those, slow to anger people who forgives and makes excuses for people. It takes quite a number of incidents and a fairly substantial history of wrongdoing before I will give up on a person, and I did this in each case. It wasn't the first time there was a squabble that I tossed it all away. I'm one of those old-fashioned types. Once I've made a commitment, it takes a lot for me to let that one go. And yes, that's what I did in each case. However, if somebody had asked me, I think I would have seen the wisdom in waiting and reconsidering before pulling the pin. Now remember that I said maybe 45% of the time I would advise waiting 2 weeks, the relationship ended anyway. Yes, some relationships really should end, and if the relationship is based on abuse, based on lies, gold digging, etc., definitely should end. No one needs that in their life. Now, I don't make a point of giving relationship advice, but I'll sneak this little gem in here. I've said this to people numerous times over the years. When you're dating, when you're courting, when you're in those early stages of the relationship, now that other person, and you for that matter, you're on your best behaviour. This is when, you make sure you check your armpits before you go out, and you make sure you're dressed as well as you possibly can, and, you think twice before, showing what you know. I mean, we all have a coarse side to us. We all have those aspects of our personalities that we're not especially proud of. So yes, definitely, we are all on our best behaviour. Now, if you're seeing things that you think, this is intolerable, I cannot stand this, well, guess what's going to happen the deeper you get into that relationship? You think it will get better? No, it will get worse. Once they relax, once they've settled in and they've went, okay, courting days are over, I can relax and I can be myself. I know, as they say with men, you don't have to suck your gut in anymore because you're already married, so you let your gut out. Well, it's the same with any sort of offensive behaviour. If you've got somebody where you've caught them out lying when you're still courting, or if they've been abusive in some way, or they're showing you signs that, they don't really love you, or maybe they're, trying to get money from you to give to the family or something like that. If they're doing that at the point where they're trying their hardest to impress you, it's only going to get worse, my goodness. So think about this very, very carefully. Before you make that, before you take that final step. If you're not sure, wait a bit. Don't barrel on in and think, if I don't marry her now, she'll get bored and sick of me. And I mean, if she's like that, well, goodness me, why are you marrying her anyway? I mean, if you can't wait another 3 months, 6 months to iron out some uncertainties, well, it's a bit of a shaky old relationship to start with. But if you see those awful things, abuse, lies, gold digging, etc., it definitely should end. Absolutely nobody needs that in their life. And if you yourself were driven to rush into the first relationship that came along because you were desperately lonely, there's a very good chance you made a rash decision. This is probably not the person you should be planning to spend the rest of your life with. Oh goodness, memories flooding in here. Yes, I was married for 10 years, and when I was like 30 or something like that, relationship broke up, and I was scared. I was lonely. Suddenly I was alone, and I thought nobody will ever want me. And I rushed into a very stupid relationship very quickly because I was scared. Over time, I sort of got over it, gained some confidence, and suddenly looked and went, "My goodness, what am I doing here?" And I got the hell out, quick, smart. So again, just be aware if you've got into this relationship and you think, I'm so incredibly lucky to have this, and I will never ever be so lucky ever again. Well, think carefully, take a breather, build your confidence, get over the hurt of the previous relationship, and think a bit. Now, long distance relationships. I mean, most of you will be in a long-distance relationship. Some of you are living here. You're lucky enough to, have been able to live here for a year or so, and you might have been living with a lady before you move ahead. That certainly makes things easier. But most of you are in a long-distance relationship. Now, long-distance relationships are hard. There's no question about that. Now, you ever hear that one about the blind men describing the elephant? Three blind men. One says the elephant is like a thick tree. The other says it's like a snake. The other says it's like a hose. Now, they didn't have the use of all five senses, and they based judgment on clearly limited information. I hope you all get what I'm saying there. One of them's feeling the leg, and the other's feeling the tail, the other's feeling the trunk, and they're trying to piece it all together from that limited bit of information. Well, guess what? In a long-distance relationship, you get to read emails, you get to see photos or videos, or you talk on the phone or over Skype or Viber, but you don't get to sense all that you sense when you're physically with someone. And much of the time you are alone with your imagination. Now, you add to that the confusion that comes from the mix of language and culture. An action, word or sentence from a Filipino can mean something very different to an Aussie, and vice versa. And you have approximately 23 hours a day when you're not communicating with her, to let your imagination run wild, and so does she. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that limited time together over limited media, videos, chat windows, etc., a couple of lonely people from different countries and cultures, well, it might just lead to a few misunderstandings. Thus my point. Now, could the issue be just a misunderstanding? Could you be about to toss away someone who actually loves you and will spend the rest of their life with you as your loving, supporting life partner, and could you be doing this because your imagination took you to the dark side? I mean, I'm endlessly grateful that I stuck it out with my lovely wife Mila all those years ago, and we had our misunderstandings. We have them when we're together as well, but thank goodness neither of us was prepared to toss it away in a whim, because I can say quite clearly it's never been better, and I cannot imagine it being better. Well, that could well be the same with both of you. Think about it. So, look, please take the time, be slow to anger, and calm down, sleep on it, talk about it, and listen to each other. If you can do more listening than talking, then there's a chance you're going to learn something. Now, if you've been following these podcasts, and if you've been following the blog articles, a few months ago I had an article about communication and problem-solving skills. Now, if you haven't read that, please read it. Please listen to it, and try and take that on, and try to use some of those better skills when you are communicating with each other, and you can solve many a stupid misunderstanding. So don't waste a loving relationship and all that you work for, as that could be truly so young. Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope you found this useful. Australian visas from the Philippines are not easy, and the outcome matters, as you well know. Please feel free to contact us anytime if you need some further help. And we look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye-bye.